So our work with Bedari has spent, this is our second project with Bedari, and the first project was to have them work with community leaders and start community discussions about women's land inheritance. Through that process, they figured out a lot of the problems that women were encountering in trying to find aid. And so the second project, while continues to try to raise awareness about land, helps them with these problems. For example, Bedari has a woman promoter, a young woman promoter in each village, because if it were a man, he couldn't talk to the woman. That young woman promoter, she brings the forms for the birth certificates to the village. The women fill them out there. Bedari takes care of processing them through the Union Council. So one response is bring some of these access to services to women. Another barrier is, you saw here, women in this part of Pakistan, they observe 40 days of seclusion after the death of their husband. That was also true in Sri Lanka. That was not true in Aceh. You see, so Islamic societies are very different, can be very different in how they interpret things. So that meant that they missed out on the first registration. So there is a registration, but they missed out on it. So another thing that Bedari is doing is working with all the village leaders to get a list of who was left out of the first registration and provide what are the legitimate reasons. And then they plan to bring that to the provincial authorities, exert a lot of pressure to get those people onto the list. Another thing that they're doing is how to make sure that girls are going back to school. If you read, Gretchen just wrote an article for the web, and it says 10,200 out of 11,000 schools were destroyed in Pakistan by earthquake. Girls need their own schools, so if a school is built in a village, it's not necessarily a girls' school. So one of the things that Bedari is doing is in these little villages doing a census about where are girls going back to school, are they not? Where could they go back to school? Another thing that they're doing is which women need legal aid, and they have volunteer lawyers who will provide legal aid. So your case would have been taken care of by women lawyers who are going to work for women, because there are all kinds of cases where women need to have guardianship declared, they need access to accounts, and they cannot get it. Bedari is continuing to raise the land issue, because if you look at a lot of these stories, income generation projects are not going to substitute for assets, which are land, which is inheritance for your children. Women in northern Pakistan are very limited in terms of income generation, because it's very hard for them to move out of their houses. So they can make things in their house and have family members sell it. And there is a real, we don't want to be disrespectful to the community safety net, because all these communities have a very traditional safety net, which has worked, more or less, for widows. The problem is you have communities now with all of these widows, and you have communities that have been very destroyed by the earthquake, and a lot of assets have been lost. And so those community safety nets become very, very strained after a year or two. And when the aid gets pulled out, a lot of those community safety nets really can't hold all the people they're supposed to protect. They just can't.